Welcome to Understory Files. Every headline tells you what happened. We're here to uncover what was happening underneath. This story begins the way many tragedies do, quietly. No warning signs, no obvious danger. No reason to believe that a simple drink could become fatal. On a warm July evening in 2022, Kirsty McKee was doing something millions of people do on holiday or while living abroad. She was relaxing with a friend, sharing a bottle of limoncello, talking, laughing, enjoying an ordinary moment. Nothing about it felt reckless. Kirsty was 38 years old, a ceramic artist from Stockport, England. Creative, thoughtful, and described by those who knew her as careful, especially when it came to alcohol. Her fiancé worked in the wine and restaurant business. This wasn't someone unfamiliar with sourcing or quality. She understood what she was drinking, or at least she thought she did. That night, she and her friend opened the bottle. They poured, they sipped, and somewhere inside that bottle was something neither of them could see: methanol. Methanol is not the alcohol people drink socially. It's an industrial chemical. In small amounts, it can cause blindness. In higher amounts, it can shut down organs. It's colorless. It doesn't announce itself. It blends in. And when consumed unknowingly, the early symptoms don't scream emergency. They whisper confusion. Soon after drinking, both women began feeling unwell, nausea, headache, dizziness. It felt like a bad hangover. And that assumption that it was just a hangover is part of what makes methanol poisoning so dangerous. Because by the time symptoms escalate, damage may already be underway. Kirsty's friend gradually improved. Kirsty's condition did not. Within 2 days, on July 24, 2022, she was gone. Back in the United Kingdom, her family faced the unbearable reality of losing a daughter without understanding why. There were no immediate answers, no confirmed diagnosis, just shock. Imagine burying your child while still asking what happened. Weeks turned into months before the truth surfaced. A pathologist had preserved samples in Bali, storing them under controlled laboratory conditions. When testing was finally completed, the results confirmed methanol poisoning. For Margaret, Kirsty's mother, the delayed diagnosis added another layer of trauma. Not knowing. Not understanding, replaying every possibility in your mind. Methanol contamination can happen in several ways. Sometimes it's the result of poorly regulated local brewing, improper distillation methods that allow toxic alcohol to remain in the product. Other times, it can be deliberate, cheaper chemical substitutes used to increase profit margins. Either way, the consumer often has no reliable method to detect it. The label can look legitimate, the bottle can look authentic, the setting can feel safe, and that's what unsettles people the most. Kirsty wasn't drinking from an unmarked container in a hidden alley. She wasn't knowingly taking a risk. She was doing what millions of travelers and residents do every day, trusting that what is being served is safe. After her death, the bottle that contained the contaminated alcohol had already been discarded. There was no direct evidence left to trace, no clear accountability, no one to prosecute. And that realization forced her family to confront something painful. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive. So Margaret chose something else: awareness. She began speaking publicly about methanol poisoning, something many travelers don't consider. She warned about the risks of counterfeit labels, improperly regulated spirits and cocktails or shots where origins are unclear. Her message wasn't driven by anger. It was driven by prevention. Because if something this ordinary could take her daughter's life, it could happen to someone else. In 2025, official travel advisories in multiple countries began including more explicit guidance about methanol poisoning. Authorities urged travelers to recognize symptoms quickly and seek immediate medical attention if they suspect contamination. But awareness campaigns often begin after loss. Psychologically, there's something deeply unsettling about this case. It challenges a core human assumption that danger looks dangerous. We're taught to watch for suspicious behavior, unsafe neighborhoods, obvious red flags. But what happens when the threat looks exactly like something familiar? A sealed bottle, a trusted supplier, a relaxed evening. We rarely question the invisible systems behind everyday products, supply chains, regulations, storage conditions, enforcement standards. We trust that someone, somewhere, has verified safety. Cassidy's story reminds us that trust can sometimes be misplaced, not through recklessness, but through gaps in oversight. And for her family, that realization has been both devastating and motivating. Margaret has said that campaigning is the only action that makes sense after losing her daughter. If there's no legal closure, then at least there can be awareness. At least there can be one more traveler who pauses, one more person who seeks help faster, one more life potentially spared. Grief often searches for meaning. In this case, meaning became advocacy. And while no campaign can reverse what happened in July 2022, it can shine a light on a risk that too often hides in plain sight. There's a quiet tragedy in stories like this. No dramatic confrontation, no criminal mastermind, no visible villain. Just an invisible chemical in a bottle that should have been safe, and a life that should still be here. When we hear about poisonings, we imagine extreme circumstances, but this wasn't extreme, it was ordinary. That's what makes it powerful and frightening. So the next time you read a headline about contaminated alcohol, about a sudden unexplained illness while traveling, about an advisory update tucked into a government website, remember that behind it may be a family who once had no idea what they were looking for. Kirsty Mickay's story isn't just about what happened, it's about what was unseen. And that's what we explore here. Because beneath every headline, there's always another layer. If you found this story important, consider sharing it. Awareness spreads faster when people talk about what most assume could never happen to them. And if you want more deep, human investigations into the stories behind the headlines, subscribe to Understory Files. We uncover what's underneath. I'll see you in the next story.